following message is being transmitted at the request of the Boundless Podtrap Movie Review and the guys of the BPT. What you are about to hear contains spoilers to movies. If you don't want to hear these spoilers, please disengage your listening device at this time. If you can't handle those with a possible differing view on a movie, you may also want to disengage your listening device at this time. Stay tuned for a movie review that only the guys at the Boundless Podtrap can give you.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Good morning, everybody. Did I just make you crap your pants, Lonnie?
Wow, these headphones sound so much louder.
That's...
They got batteries. They put batteries in the headphones.
If you're wondering what these voices are, I mean, these are the voices from the Boundless Podtrap.
I remember you from that.
I do too. I think it's weird that we're on another podcast together.
We're very much more professional on this one.
Yes. This is the BPT movie review, our inaugural episode. Boys, how excited are we?
Welcome.
That music was a little groovy, don't you think?
I can get into it.
Slap it out, bass, man.
If you check out the last actual Podtrap podcast, the music on that one was so much better.
Yeah, that was, wow. I'm still, a week later, and I'm still laughing at that one. No, this is our movie review. It's not going to be as long as our other podcast. This is going to be strictly talking about one movie, the whole episode.
Unless it's like a short film, then we might do one or two. But we're going to try to keep it to just one thing, just to give you guys a little bit of a nugget before the next podcast.
Yeah, so now you get to not only hear our voices once every 2 weeks, you're going to hear it once a week.
Yeah.
Now, this will...
Aren't you lucky?
Hey, we're going to make your britches wet with shit.
What? What are britches?
Yeah.
Bitches.
And what
Britches.
shit?
Your knockers.
You're going to shit on your bitches?
Knickers. Knickers.
Knickers.
Knacker.
He's wearing knickers.
Knackers.
Knickers.
So, we...
What better movie to start off our first
One of the
Yeah.
best movies of all time.
This is considered... We wanted to do one of what's considered the best movies. We had a handful of them, but we chose this one.
I chose Porky's, but these fuckers just want to go along with me.
This movie in itself was probably many people's number one favorite movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 1994 movie, Quentin Tarantino's second feature that he wrote and directed, Pulp Fiction, starring John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman. I mean, it's actually like an all-star cast. I mean, even
Harvey Keitel.
Christopher Walken was even... I forgot that he was in it.
Phil Lamar, I really loved his part too.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Tim
a
Roth.
lot of people, which that's just one of the first things I want to... Like, for Quentin Tarantino being somebody that didn't go to film school, who only had Reservoir Dogs before this, how did he get all these well-known actors and actresses to be in his movie?
Well, you got to think he's been in the industry just because he wasn't really releasing movies. He was going to the Hollywood parties and he was trying to integrate himself in the scene for so long. He was dumping scripts on people for probably years and years before one was finally picked up. Like, he was integrated into the scene before people gave him a chance. So
he did
was
it the hard way too.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Samuel L. Jackson said that when he read the script for the first time for Pulp Fiction, because he actually, Samuel L. Jackson auditioned for Reservoir Dogs, but didn't get the part.
Right.
And I think it was at Sundance Film Festival when they were premiering Reservoir Dogs. He went and talked to Quentin Tarantino, and Quentin Tarantino told him he had this part for him in this movie. And
originally it was supposed to be the bartender, the one of the assistants of the main bad guy in this movie, who was supposed to play Jules, but
Right.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, let's first I'm gonna read you the synopsis of this movie for those of you that have not seen this movie. So, two hitmen, Jules Winfield and Vincent Vega, work as hitmen for crime boss Marcellus Wallace. Wallace wants boxer Butch. Colleges. I don't know. I didn't really carry. I didn't really pay attention to his last name. But he wants boxer Butch. That's not Coolidge.
It is Coolidge.
Is it?
Yeah, it's supposed to, especially when you see the match on the marquee, it's Coolidge versus, what's his name, Floyd, whatever.
Well, anyways, he wants boxer Butch Coolidge ass on a platter after he refused to throw a fight after taking Wallace's bribe money. Butch plans to flee the city, but can't leave his father's watch behind. Meanwhile, Vincent finds himself up Schitt's Creek when Wallace has him babysit his wife, Mia, and she ODs on cocaine. Along the way, there's a robbery, a royale with cheese, and lots of murder. Some people redeem themselves, and some don't.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. She does not OD on cocaine. It's actually heroin.
She thinks it's cocaine.
This synopsis came straight off of IMDb.
She thinks it's cocaine, but it's actually heroin.
Her drug of choice is is cocaine.
Is cocaine,
So
but
the
it's
powder
actually
substance is heroin.
it's the madman heroin.
Yeah. Vincenzo's drug of choice is heroin. So, yeah.
I was going to play the audio trailer for this, but there's so many fucking songs on it that we would have got flagged in like 2 seconds.
Big time, yeah.
So that's what you get. That's straight off of IMDb. So any false information
That's on
is
them.
from them.
Fuck
Yeah.
IMDb.
So before we get into it too, this is the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to go around the table here and we're all going to give our rating for this movie. Now it's going to be a 1 through 10 rating. 1 means the movie absolutely sucked ass. 5 is it was a pretty mediocre movie. It did what it was supposed to do. And 10 means it's just something incredible. So let's start with you, Lonnie.
So pre-watching it for this podcast, I would have gave it a solid 9 out of 10. Watching it for this podcast and really dissecting it, I probably would give it a 7.
Justin?
God damn, this movie was a pretty good milkshake. I gotta say
God
that.
damn.
No,
Maybe not a $5 milkshake, but
If that was your Samuel L. Jackson impression, you need to work on it.
it wasn't.
it was not.
It was the Jules, or not Jules. It was the Vincent. It was Vegas, but it wasn't an. Anyways, it was a Vega line. But anyways, I would give this a 10. I have to.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going off right
Because
off
it
the bat
is
with a
Strong.
10.
Wow.
For its time, for its efforts, for what they did with everything, like it kind of pretty much has everything. I think, like at least that suits me. It's got the dialogue is well written, the interactions, the gunplay, the angles, the very concise detail that I pulled apart in all this. Like I have to give it a 10 for what it was.
Oh, wow.
It holds up. I think so.
Like I said, this is probably my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It's up there as a good movie. I'm not going to go quite as high as you did with it, but I'm around the same thing with mine. I'm giving it a 7.5 just because it's great. There are some moments in it where it's just like I feel like with a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies, the scene drags out a little too long and it could be a little bit shorter. But like I agree with you. It has everything in this movie.
Some of those uncomfortable scenes, I think, are highly necessary. 2 scenes in particular, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But this is an easy favorite. I keep this on the nightstand by the table on the kangaroo of my mind.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to talk about actually is something that you mentioned, Justin, the dialogue. Tarantino movies are very easy to pick out with the dialogue. To me, they're realistic. The conversation that the people are having is not like I feel like it's a camera was set up on a tripod and they're just 2 people talking like they really would.
Right.
And I would like to see the script to some of this.
Yeah.
How much of this is like, fill your character and then just go with it type of thing. Hit these points in.
It's almost like you have an A and a B, and it's like fill in the gap. It's like, here's your start, here's your finish. You decide how you're going to get there.
You can tell what a Quentin movie is. You can tell what a Kevin Smith movie is. Like the dialogues are them embodied.
Yeah, especially like in the scene, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but the overdose scene, like the dialogue between the characters when they're looking for the medical book, and it seems like such a panicked, organic conversation where, like, if that's his script he wrote, like, it was so, like, panicked. Like, that can't be an actual written down script because no one could write that down and no one could practice that. Like, if you were given that script, like your responses, huh? And then this is what you have to respond to. Like, nah, that didn't feel like a natural, huh?
Right.
Like,
Well, even the mannerisms that people do when they're delivering their lines seem natural.
Right.
And I think what that is, you know, I watch a lot of videos like on YouTube of Tarantino giving advice.
Right.
And, you know, he also talks about how he does things and he likes to write. And like me, he likes to write pen to paper. He doesn't like typing.
Right.
And he does a lot of what he says is where he writes so many pages of like a character, like their traits, things that they do, like mannerisms and stuff like that. And he's like, the stuff will never see the
light of day.
The light of day. But if
It helps for the actor, for
like
sure.
John Travolta, he gives him that. He goes over all that stuff with them. And I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say that to me, this is probably John Travolta's best role that he's ever played. Besides Danny Zuko.
right. The one thing I will say about this movie is this is probably Quentin Tarantino's laziest movie he did.
Really?
You think so?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
There's so many continuity errors in this movie of a larger budget movie that I have ever seen.
Give an example.
I can give you a handful of
The
examples.
only ones I was
We
able
only
to
have an
pick
hour,
out-
an hour and 20 minutes.
Right. So I'll throw a couple of them. The robbery scene between Honey Bunny and Pumpkin.
Which, by the way, the best names to be credited for in a movie
Right.
ever.
They
I
are-
would say there's one person in that who got a better credit. The manager. He's known as the coffee shop.
right.
Because when he gets the gun to himself, he's like, I'm just a coffee shop.
Just the coffee
And
shop. So Honey Bunny's line is different. The two times. Like the first time is different than the second time.
It's 2 hours removed, though. So
I feel like that was done on purpose. Like, I don't think
Why
that
would
was
it be
left-
done on purpose though?
Because
It's-
that's Quentin Tarantino for you.
You're
Okay.
getting a different perspective. Maybe they heard it differently.
well, it's literally the same line.
Let me
but-
give him credit where credit's not
No,
due.
there's no, yeah. The when they're in Brad's apartment, when right before the guy comes out of the bathroom to shoot them,
Bullet holes
bullet
already in the
holes are
background.
already behind
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
When they shoot Brad the first time, Samuel L. Jackson's gun is clearly out of rounds because his gun discharges, and you can see if you know firearms, you know when a handgun.
There was
is-
also 2 consecutive shots, and you only see one when
Right.
the guy takes the hit.
Right. You clearly know when a handgun is out of ammunition because the cylinder or the top mechanic of the gun
Stays loaded.
stays loaded, and you can tell from the cylinder on the front of the handgun. And they shoot him probably at least 10 to 12 rounds. But on the second time they come through, maybe 4 to 5 rounds in the chest. And his gun is not discharged at all.
Well, see, somebody like me that's stupid and knows shit about guns, I would have never caught on to
Right.
that.
Well, and just the fact that they only discharge 4 rounds opposed to 15 rounds. There's just little continuity errors like that watching it from an outside perspective and just being like, I love this movie. That's why it went from a 9 to a 7 to me. Now I'm having to watch it with eyes of someone who's trying to dissect the movie.
Oh, man.
I notice these little things and realize how lazy it is.
This is how long is this movie?
2.5 hours.
225, yeah.
Yeah, just almost 2.5 hours. It took me maybe about 6 hours just to watch it because of how analytical I was trying to, utilizing certain translations and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, well, okay, that can mean this. And yeah,
Right.
but yeah, I wrote something up I wanted to read real quick. It's pretty much about Quentin Tarantino. Like, you can tell a Quentin Tarantino film is because it's very distinctive. Pulp Fiction in particular, from the style, from the setting, the props, the shots, the intentions. Tarantino's writing takes a play on the mundane and the extreme. Scenes are set up often in parallel to antagonists and protagonists. It can go from dull to drilling, minimal to maximal, monotonous to momentous, prosaic to paramount. He walks this tightrope with time and illustrates just enough to keep you satisfied with the full resolution until the very end, filling in the missing pieces. All in all, I think this movie is pretty much about redemption and also about not taking life too seriously.
I think, one thing about Quentin Tarantino is I don't know that he really has like true meaning behind his movies. A lot of, I think he likes to leave it up to the viewer.
Oh yeah.
Because they've interviewed him, asked him a lot of questions on like a lot of his movies about, well, what does it actually mean? And he won't give his meaning behind it because he's just like, if the viewer then loses anything that they've.
Yeah, if they build it up
absolutely.
higher than what it is, it's like, well, run on that.
Yeah, because he's like, they might have thought of it this way, but then if I say this is what I was trying to convey, then everything they thought of is out the window, and that's all they know. And
Specifically with what's in the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one of the most thought-intriguing things about the movie is
the
what's in the
briefcase.
suitcase. Yeah, or in the briefcase. Yeah. With you diagnosing or analyzing the movie so much, in your opinion, what's in the suitcase?
Because I know what certain accidents happened ahead of time, I still think it's the soul.
You think it's more so as well as the soul?
Yeah.
I personally, and this is a connection that I put together, I think it's the diamonds from Reservoir Dogs because Vince Vega and Vic Vega, brothers, Vic Vega being Mr. Blonde from Reservoir Dogs, is Vincent Vega's brother.
Right. Which was supposed to be the same character. He was supposed to play Travolta's part.
Right.
You say that, and I 100% agree with that.
Right.
Thank you saying that. Because my thing was it was Goldmember's penis from Austin Powers Gold.
That's a shiny one.
But whenever like it does it with Butch, it does it with Pumpkin, it does it with Jules. Anyone who opens it and sees it, they like almost are transcended to a different realm. So the soul makes sense, like what it is.
They've seen something they've never seen before. It's like you've seen diamonds and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, but yeah, it could be like a lot of it. Some people even speculate that it's even like Spider-Man's #1 comic. It's like I don't know where'd you put that.
Where'd you get that
Yeah,
from?
I don't know.
The Ark of the Covenant, or just something like
Holy Grail.
Now we go back to like the conversation, the dialogue. One scene in particular, which we do have an audio clip of, is in the car between Vincent and Jules. About the Royale with cheese and stuff. Like that dialogue has nothing to do with anything in the movie,
right?
But it's so captivating, and it's just I don't know.
That's kind of what I was going by. Like he's talking about like mundane stuff, and then immediately into like extremity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And let's go ahead and play that audio clip real quick.
What they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
Oh man, they got the metric system. They wouldn't know what the fuck a quarter pounder is.
And what do they call it?
They call it Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
What do they call a Big Mac?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
Le Big Mac.
And I guarantee everybody that went to that movie theater, when they were walking out, they were like, Royale with cheese. And that's something that still sticks to this day.
Right.
People always say that. But yeah, I mean, that nothing to do with the movie.
Right. Such a throwaway line.
I never got
Like,
a
it
Royale
means
with
nothing.
cheese.
Yeah.
A few times I went to Amsterdam.
And what's funny is when they're in Brad's apartment and Jules is doing that like intimidation thing where he's eating his burger, he's drinking his soda. It's such an intimidating gesture, but all that is such like removable dialogue. Like any other director or producer would be like, throw this away. Let's turn this 2.5 hour movie into a 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
Exactly.
But that is such an intimidating gesture. Why not leave it in? Like, that's just showing your dominance. And it shows Jules in the background, like, searching and getting more and more irritated. And
I think that's one of the bigger roles for Sam Jackson. Sam L. I got to give him his L. But they were talking about how when he read for it, he came to, he bought some fast food or whatever and ate his food while he was reading for the script or whatever. One of the editors, one of the guys working on the film, pretty much miscredited him. They're like, "I love your work, Fishburne," and it's like,
Oh.
That's one thing you don't do. So he was kind of like a little disgruntled or something like that, but he had a domineering presence.
Yeah.
And so he used that. Well, he uses that pretty much with everything.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, and something else that you touched on that was on my list here too are, I've always said this about Quentin Tarantino, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit off topic of Tarantino, but go film school. You know, me being an inspiring filmmaker, I didn't go to film school. I've never really had any desire to go to film school. I know a lot of people that did go to film school.
You lied to us?
Yeah. And it's just,
I've seen
you know,
film
it's
school.
not that it's wrong or anything, but it's like people that go to film school are all being taught the exact same thing. And that's
Put you in
why
a box.
there's a lot of movies out there, and I mean a lot of movies out there that feel like the same thing. Like it's just, you go to the movie and it's the same camera angles, the same cuts. Everything is just, it's film school. It's what you were taught and you learned in the books. Now, Tarantino, on the other hand, he did not go to film school. So he is self-taught.
Right.
You know, he probably went on other sets and learned things, and especially things like maybe not what to do and whatnot. But that's why when you look at a Tarantino movie, if you didn't even see the credits, if you weren't even told it was a Tarantino movie, if you were sat down and you watched 5 movies and you were told to pick out Tarantino one with, in just like the first 5 minutes of a movie,
Right.
you would be able to tell because dialogue and camera angles, and what I want to talk about are the angles that he does, because there's a lot of unnecessarily long.
There's a few creative shots I want to touch on later too.
Right. Yeah.
But like, you know, that shot when they first go to the apartment, Vincent and Jules, and it's just like, it's not time yet. And it's one long shot of them going up there. The camera's behind them at the door, or the camera's on their backs and you see the door, and they have a little bit of unnecessary dialogue in, and it's like, it's not time yet. And then follows them down the hallway, and the camera doesn't move. It just pans.
It waits.
And they go into another part of the hallway and have this long conversation, and then they come back to the door. And it's just like that with anybody else would have been like probably like 12 different setups and different angles and stuff. And it's like, you know, some people can do it, some people can't do it. Tarantino, his angles are weird, but they're perfect. Right. And he's
got that slap stick type, like a spaghetti western, like, you know, his film type of thing. And yeah, it works so well.
Now, I feel like with a lot of his new pictures, like he's kind of lost some of that. Like,
I can agree.
He started getting a little bit more Hollywood. Like his dialogue is still kind of there.
I think a lot of that is probably play to the fact that he has more of a budget and he's trying to take different, you know, he probably has other people working.
Well, yeah, that, and he has a lot more people telling him more what to do. Like
I also
a
can't
lot
tell.
more production companies saying, "Hey, we're putting a lot of money into this," and he's working, like now that he's working with Brad Pitt and he's working with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's working with named actors who maybe you're probably giving him more input than, you know, Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson did back in the day, and John Travolta, who are like, whatever, it's your movie, we're just making a paycheck. Because this movie was made on, what, an $8 million budget, or 80, I mean, 80 to 8 is a fantastically large difference. But
yeah,
I think it was, here, I'll pull it up here.
Well, while you're doing that, I will agree. I think his latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think that's his worst film. I
haven't seen that. I
don't
haven't seen
like
his last two.
I think
get on board.
That one, it's kind of contradicting with what I just said.
$8 million budget.
Well, but like it's contradicting to what I said. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had a lot of long, unnecessary scenes. Like there was one scene between Leonardo DiCaprio's character and this little girl where they're on the set of a movie and they're going over dialogue, and it was like, to me, it felt like it was like an 8-minute long camera angle, and I was just bored with it. And I think Tarantino has more people in his ears now,
right?
And I don't want to necessarily say he's selling out, but
No.
I think he's probably kind of giving in a little bit more than he used to.
Yeah, I don't know how much he operates the camera. When back then, that was his main focus, I would assume.
Well,
writing
he doesn't really operate the camera. One of the things he said is that he is literally right. He doesn't watch on a monitor.
Right.
He is literally right on the shoulder of the cinematographer, because he's like, it's like the actors are acting for you. It's like your own personal play. And it's like, wow, that's actually like true. Like, you know, he trusts his cinematographer enough to know that he's framing it correctly. Like, yeah, I'm sure Tarantino has his input, but for him, I think Tarantino's just watching the movements and the action and dialogue and not really caring about the frame and whatnot. But yeah, $8 million, you say?
Yeah, $8 million budget. It ended up grossing its opening weekend, like most, you know, cult classic movies, a pathetic, you know, 9.3 million its opening weekend. So it made its money back opening weekend. But cumulative worldwide now, it's 213 million. So
Jeez.
it made its money back in full.
It's pretty much an instant cult classic.
Absolutely, yeah. We talk about this movie, and we've kind of already did it about, you know, the amazing people in it: Samuel L. Jackson, John Travolta, Uma Thurman. But you think about the other people who were in this movie, like Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Phil Lamar, Bruce Willis, of course,
Christopher Walken,
Ving
Rhames.
I totally
Tim
forgot about
Rhames.
Christopher Walken until that flashback scene of Butch as a kid. And I'm like, wow.
Roseanne Arquette. I'm just going through the names here. That
What's her name? Isn't what is
Steve
her name?
Buscemi,
Catherine?
Kathy Griffin.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's who I was thinking of. Like,
That man ran you
she
over.
has the shortest line in it, and it's like,
Yeah, and she's credited as Kathy Griffin.
I mean, there's a lot. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people in it, and it's like yeah. Granted, he was in the film industry for a little bit there, but it's like for this being his second film, I mean, yeah, to me. Wouldn't that would make me very unnerving as the director, because it's like you love making movies and you love working with new people, and I mean, nothing against Reservoir Dogs had a pretty all-star cast too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's
Most
a lot
of
of
them
pressure
before they
on
were
you.
made too. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if he ever. I don't get this vibe from Tarantino, but I wonder if he ever felt like he was not good enough to be directing
absolutely.
with all these people.
I bet he went in there. Like, I get the vibe from Tarantino, like, especially with him acting in it. He's got to go in with such a chip on his shoulder that, like, I did it. I'm good enough to be here. You're in my movie.
Yeah, he actually
Like-
dropped down from the character he wanted to play. He wanted to play Lance, but instead he filled the part of Jimmy because he wanted to also film the OD scene, or at least the syringe scene.
Well, one thing I do know is that Tarantino is open for people's input. An example, I mean, I'm sure he's not like everything, but like an example would be when Vincent shoots the guy in the face in the car.
Phil Lamar.
He was supposed to, I forget what the line was, but he's just like, went to Tarantino and he's like, can I just say, oh man, I shot Vincent in the face? And Tarantino's like, sure, if you want to. And he's like, you know, in my mind, I knew that I was going to say it like, oh man, I just stepped on his toe type of thing. Like he's like, I was going to add the humor. And I mean, and that's one of the things like that you kind of remember. And it was humorous. It's like he shoots him blood everywhere. And he's like, oh man, I shot him in the face. I mean,
that's what, well, Phil Lamar was the one who kind of like pitched that too, because he was supposed to get shot in the stomach. And Phil was like, well, I'm going to die anyway. Would it be funnier if he just took me out in the face? You know, so Quentin was like, yeah, let's roll with that.
Yeah. Oh man, I shot him Huffing in the face. In that whole scene, like Jimmy's performance, like Quentin Tarantino's performance as Jimmy, and then Harvey Keitel's performance as the Wolf, like that whole segment was so on par.
Oh, yeah.
And like seeing Samuel L. Jackson as like you need to wise up and like know who you're dealing with, and then seeing Travolta's like kind of smarmy ass like teenager, like I don't respect anybody but yet still respecting them, like that I want to be rebellious but I still know who I'm dealing with kind of a thing. Like that dynamic was so great. It just makes you like, don't fuck with Harvey Keitel. Like he's film legend, and knowing Harvey Keitel plays that one person, like you've seen him as Mr. White.
Okay.
And knowing that role, and then him just coming in as the Wolf, he's like basically the same.
I don't think
guy.
anybody else could have played the Wolf.
Absolutely
Like,
not. No.
And that's not just saying because I saw him. That's what you've seen on film, but I really don't think anybody else could have filled those shoes and
No.
played it.
I think the movie was perfectly cast. Like, that's one thing about this movie. It was perfectly cast.
Yeah. I kind of, I guess, breaking into it. Like, there's no doubt that Marcellus, he is pretty much like the leader of his own domain, kind of like the overseer. So
Right.
he is the king. I kind of seen him as like the Satan, the Lucifer character in this. So he has like Vincent and Jules on retainer, so they are like his knights.
Right.
They serve his cause, and the significance. One of the things that I noticed first off was like Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield. Their name means the same thing. They are the same name. So Winfield, Jules' the surname, or let's just do Vincent. Vincent is from the Italian vincere, means to win, and Vega means plain or field. So in Spanish, both Jules and Vincent mean win field. They're winning the field for Marcellus as the knights.
Did that seem like a stretch to you?
Yeah.
I don't know if I said
No,
that.
and we talked about this earlier, and he was like, I got some theories. They're deep, but they're theories. And I'm like,
That's
okay.
what he's for these.
Like,
is-
okay, I get that.
I just look at it, like I said, this is 3 different outlooks. Like you really break down the movie and stuff.
I get real nitpicky.
Justin comes up with the meetings and stuff like that. And I just watched the movie for watching the movie and more of the directing technical part of the movie, not necessarily the movie itself. So that's interesting.
What I also liked is, all right, if we're going to go from start to finish here. So starting off, it actually finishes how it starts. So
That's how my sex life works.
you start off with like the Bonnie and Clyde characters of Bunny and Pumpkin, Honey Bunny and Pumpkin.
Yeah.
And the first sound you hear is the motorcycle going across.
Which is
and
Butch.
Butch is leaving. So I liked that full circle closing with that.
Well, and that's the thing about this movie is it's all over the fucking place. And for somebody that their first time watching it, like me, my first time watching it, I was confused a little bit and stuff like that with some of the things. But yeah, and I don't know if that's something. Do you guys like movies like that are kind of you start here, then you go there, and then you go back here, and then you jump up here, and
if it's told good enough,
yeah,
and that's what kind of what I was saying towards my intro is like he gives you bits and pieces here and there that are satisfying.
Yeah,
and so when he comes back and puts the pin in it, it's like, oh shit, oh
yeah,
fuck. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Multi-watch movies are enjoyable if they're done right. Yeah.
And this is one of the ones that follows 3 stories. You're following, Vincent pretty much at the beginning, then it goes to Butch, and then it finishes off Samuel Jackson's character, Jules.
Well, that can't be right then. Like, that theory can't be right, the motorcycle leaving then, because Butch kills Vincent
Yeah,
and then leaves.
I guess that kind of falls apart right there. Unless it's a passerby, because he doesn't go by when he leaves, he's leaving
with
with Fabian.
Or
Fabian.
yeah,
Yeah,
Vincetta was the cab driver.
because Butch doesn't get the motorcycle until
Esmeralda
after
does.
he
After he kills
Vincent.
Zed.
Esmeralda's the cab driver.
Yeah.
That's another one. I want to get into that too.
Yeah, he doesn't get the motorcycle till after he leaves to go home and then hits Marcellus.
Which that's
That's like
scene
the
is
ultimate
awesome because
fuck you.
like how in all the places in all the world, that's the street, this section of the street he's crossing right in front of
Like
Butch.
in the
and
ghetto of Los Angeles.
And that
the
line-
richest man in the city.
that line right before motherfucker.
Boom. I like that. That was very symbolic because he just got his watch at that time. He walked through the gates, kind of constantly looking over his shoulder, thinking he's in the clear. The birds and the wind or whatever song comes on, and he's all happy and kosher and about ready to make his run. And right in front of him, the first crossroads, he said, the first stoplight, he sees the big baddie.
There's a action figure statue of that where he's standing there with his donut box and coffee. I want to get it so bad, but it's expensive.
Like Kingpin gets his own fucking donuts and coffee.
You gotta love
Good
what you
point,
do.
actually.
You gotta love what you do.
He definitely has people that would do that for him.
Right.
But
I guess if you're the biggest mob boss in LA, you wouldn't want other people getting your donuts and coffee because those fuckers are going to try to poison you and kill you.
True.
I'll just
Go to
gonna
get donuts
say,
and coffee and get raped by a gimp. Like, what the fuck? What a terrible day.
that's a crappy morning.
Right? Get fucking hit by a little white dude in a little Honda. Get raped by a gimp.
You know, and there's a little thing that happens in that scene that other directors wouldn't even think about. Tarantino did, and it's more real. And it was kind of like, not that it turned my stomach, but it was like, ooh. But like when after Butch crashes the car after hitting Marcellus, and then Marcellus gets up and the people, Kathy Griffin's like, if you need a lawyer or whatever. But he goes to shoot at Bruce Willis, but he hits the lady that's helping him, some random lady, and she's like,
in the thigh.
Like, that's just like, oh my God.
What
like,
happened to her?
That's real.
Right.
I mean, most people, that's one thing about movies I hate is that people always hit their target. And it's like, you know, that wouldn't happen in real life. They're bound to miss, especially after getting hit by a car. You're a little off balance, and it's like
Discombobulated.
just
whatever,
boom, he shoots this lady, and she sold it very good. Like,
Right.
her screaming was like very real. And it's like, oh my God. So
I didn't ever get a conclusion with her. Like, is she okay?
yeah, no.
You know what the funniest thing about that whole thing is Butch hit him probably as hard as he could with that little fucking car, and he got more fucked up than Marcellus Wallace did.
Stupid European cars.
Right? He's all fucked up. He's a boxer, and his face is all fucked up. And Wallace gets up after having to deal with Kathy Griffin, brushes himself off. He's like, motherfucker.
He's got the good end of the deal, I guess.
And then they're in the fucking pawn shop, and the guy's like, get up here, and he fucking pistol whips him with a shotgun. What type of fucking boxer goes down with one shot?
That's a blunt.
From a shotgun.
That's a blunt instrument.
I don't
not a
care.
padded instrument.
What a weak chin motherfucker.
Better question: who would want to be a boxer for a living and just your job is to get punched?
Right. Yeah.
And, by the way, who fucking has a fight fix, wins all this money, and decides to retire in fucking Knoxville, Tennessee?
He does.
Butch.
He didn't decide it.
He's
There's
like, we got all this money. Let's go to fucking Knoxville. Whoop-de fucking do.
there's a turn of events.
Great
that happened.
aspirations, bro.
But so yeah.
No hate to Knoxville. If you're listening to this, one of our 2 listeners, and you live in Knoxville, Knoxville's a great
They
city.
don't.
Just set your aspirations higher.
Yeah. But yeah, starting off like the nonchalantness of pretty much the characters getting into their stuff, and then they foreshadow the turn of events that just about to take place. So you have like the nice couple in the dining room or the diner, about to rob things for like the first 4 minutes before they turn it up to the max and they're on the tables yelling. They do it again with the introduction with Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield's character while they're pretty much having their banter in the car before they line up at the apartment. And Jules, at that time, he gives that warning, which is a good foreshadowing about Mia's character, how Marcellus Wallace, the husband, the main baddie here, Mia Wallace is the wife. He pretty much roughed up a Samoan dude real good because of a foot massage. So that kind of rung in Vincent Vega's head pretty much the entire time. Like, how far can he go before it's too much? And what is she going to say? Because it's pretty much her word against him. Marcellus Wallace doesn't like to get fucked by anybody else but Mrs. Wallace.
That's Mrs. Wallace.
And that comes back around
Except
again.
for in the end.
Oh, no, he didn't like it.
Speaking of Vince Vega and Mrs. Wallace, when they go to Jackrabbit Slim's to have their date and their meal, an interaction happens with Steve Buscemi and a $5 milkshake. And I will get your gentleman's opinion. Martin and Lewis or Amos and Andy?
Yeah.
Which one?
I would have to go with. Oh man, that's a
You
racist
have no
question.
idea what you want.
That's a racist question. It's
what about you?
I
Vanilla,
have no idea what you're even asking.
vanilla or
No?
chocolate?
Vanilla or chocolate?
Oh,
That's
I have
what
to go
they're-
with
what-
Martin
That's what
Lewis.
they're implying with the Amos and Andy or Martin and Lewis.
okay.
That's the theme of it. Martin and Lewis, a couple of white guys. Amos and Andy, a couple of black guys. That's the joke of that question.
Oh,
And a lot of people didn't get that until it came out, other than Quentin Tarantino's actors dropping the N-word every 5 fucking sentences.
yeah.
That was the other racist joke in the movie that people were like, oh, maybe you should have cut that out. But yeah, Martin and
pushes
Lewis,
the envelope a little bit.
Amos and Andy, 100%.
I got to go with Lewis.
You got
Martin Lewis.
Martin Lewis.
I'm not a big chocolate fan when it comes to Ice cream, especially
Right.
milkshakes.
I would love to
Strawberry.
I would love to pay $5 for a milkshake at this fucking point in life.
That's
You will with your stimulus.
Get that stimulus. Sweet stimulus money. It's coming.
Speaking of food, the Big Kahuna Burger,
Yeah.
that's pretty much mentioned in most. It's mentioned. Sorry, and From Dusk Till Dawn. It's in Reservoir Dogs.
Yep.
It's in this one, 4 Rooms, Death Proof.
Yep.
And I think there's one more, but I didn't get that one down.
You know what else is mentioned in quite a few of his first movies is K. Billy's Sounds of the 70s.
Really?
Yeah. It's in quite a few of the first movies.
See, I just need to start watching all of his movies from start to end again. It's been a
You just
while.
really, you can't watch them to watch them. You got to watch them and be like bird dogging them because
Yeah.
they're very hidden in a lot of places. It's like the Starbucks cup and I almost called it Pit Fighter, Fight Club.
So I'm going to ask you guys this question.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you guys think
Not if I don't have to.
Quentin Tarantino has a foot fetish?
I want to say he toys with the idea. I don't know if he himself has one.
It does come up a lot.
Because the giving her a foot massage,
From Dusk Till Dawn, her putting her foot in her mouth.
the part I'm talking just Pulp Fiction. There's when Mia and them are dancing and stuff like that. She takes her shoes off. There's a time at her place when Vincent goes to pick her up, where there's tight shots of her feet, and then the one that was it's like a quick one is the cab. When Butch gets in the cab, the female cab driver is barefoot, stepping
she's
on
watching.
the gas. And
And I think I don't think she has her feet up when she's waiting for him in the toll booth. Is it just a cigarette? I forget. No.
But there have been people that say he's got a foot fetish, and I'm thinking that he does.
I think for this movie, he's still trying to ingrain the danger of the foot massage. What happened with the Samoan dude?
Oh, just trying
Antoine.
to bring it back, like trying to put that image in your head.
Was it
I can see
Antoine
that.
Walker Moore or something like that?
But that doesn't explain the cab driver.
Well, it's just maybe it's just an image to like keep reminding you.
It
of
shows
that.
you-
like you're seeing a foot and you're remembering.
You're stepping
about
on the
foot.
speed. Things are moving.
But why would she be?
progressing.
Why you're not supposed to drive barefoot?
She's a female. Comfortable.
Okay.
Even in that thing. You ever get in a cab driver and it just has that stank to it?
Yeah, that's called.
Close the door. You're letting all the stank out.
Wow.
So, anyways,
That's all. I only said it because it was true.
my
That happened.
one of my biggest factors, which putting Marcellus Wallace as the Satan figure and also putting the soul in the briefcase, is because the first introduction to Marcellus Wallace, it's his voice talking to Butch, but you see the back of his head, the Band-Aid, and it's common legend that you remove somebody's soul from the back of their head, and the combination on the briefcase is 666. So that's where I was going with that.
I would have never in a million years thought of something like that. You come up with these on your own, or do you have help from the internets?
You feel that sting? That's pride leaving your body.
Yeah, and pride is a deadly sin. So, and he's one who's kind of going against the grain.
Fuck pride.
That in that scene when he's talking to Butch, that is one of the more impressive angles. Not really impressive, but impressive for the telling of the story. When Butch goes to the bar, he asks
with
for
him and the jewel. Or
he asks
him
for
and
a
the-
pack of Reds. So that also kind of goes into like the drug of choice type of thing. So Butch's drug of choice is just cigarettes, straight and narrow. So and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to clean up and walk the straight and narrow. So he has like a little back and forth with Vincent Vega. Vincent Vega pretty much calls him a palooka, and which means like one who kind of throws the match, somebody who's going to take the fall type of thing. He kind of knows, Marcellus Wallace probably does this with a lot of boxers.
he calls him punchy.
He's a betting man. So he already knows he's a boxer. He's a popular guy. He's been on marquees and stuff. But he just had the lecture of, that pride that you're going to feel type of thing. He just called him like, you're my man, you're my main man, type of thing. And he goes to the bar, and then he calls Vincent Vega over, and he gives Vincent Vega 2 hugs. And it does this little thing, the camera angle, where it kind of follows. It does pretty much a spin, and that's the turn of events that Butch is about to take. He pretty much made his decision right there that shit is probably not going to go as planned. He just saw like he is not his main man type of thing. And yeah, I thought that turn, that twist of the camera angle following his kind of head moving around, like, what the hell is this? I thought that was very creative.
Wow. See,
That one might be a stretch.
I think that one is a little bit more closely related because it says a lot.
I kind of agree with Justin. I definitely kind of, that makes a little sense.
Well, his explanation why he throws the fight is because word got out that
Well, it was
there
his
was
first
a fix-in.
It was his first consideration, I would have said.
Right.
Kind of like the setting up before things start falling down. It's like, wait a second.
Right.
He's reconsidering.
Yeah, his explanation of why he threw the fight was there was the fix-in and word got out, so the betting on him went through the roof.
Right.
So he bet on himself to...
Right before that, when that thing turns around, he gives, the bartender gives him his cigarettes.
Right.
He ordered a pack of red apples. And in biblical knowledge, apple means knowledge.
The forbidden fruit,
yeah. You know, once you eat the forbidden fruit, you have that knowledge. And he was obtaining that as he did that spin around.
Man, I don't know how you can watch. I could not watch movies like you. Like if I looked for all these meanings, man. I mean, it's great hearing it from you. Like I enjoy it, but like me myself, I could not.
Right.
I could not like oh, that means this, that means that. That's what this means. But yeah, like hearing you explain, I mean, that makes complete sense to me, and it seems like something that Tarantino would have taken into consideration writing.
Right.
Oh, that's what I say. Like the focus of detail, especially like with the names and stuff. Vincent Vega, and I'll just go straight into the other one here. So, Winston Wolf. Winston means Victory Town, and yeah, Victory Town Wolf. Esmeralda Villalobos. Lobo means wolf. Villa means village or town. So she is also the town wolf, the one who pretty much comes. She is the female fix-it, and he is the male fix-it on both extremes. She is for Butch, and he is for Marcellus and crew. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead,
Lonnie. Do you have anything to add to that?
I don't have nothing to add to that. The only one I had is I did so for Christopher Walken, nothing compared to what you're saying at all. But the Christopher Walken scene where
that's one of my favorite scenes.
Where he's given the line to Butch, it has a lot to do with Christopher Walken's dialect and that famous Christopher Walken style of speaking. Did you know that's not on purpose, his dialect? English is not his first language. He's actually Welsh. He is a Scottish immigrant. So
couldn't tell.
So like that's how he learned to speak English. That's just the way like he has to speak the language. It's how he processed the English language. So that's how Christopher Walken speaks English. He has no other way of speaking English. So when he's doing the Christopher Walken voice,
he can try to do it like this.
That's how he speaks. It's not him doing like trying to be noticed. That's just his voice.
He gave me this watch, and I put it.
He put it up his asshole.
His ass. That was probably one of the honorable gold watch scene. Probably it held deep for me all the way up to the end, deep in my ass.
That part of the movie made me hate Little Butch so much when he just fucking grabbed the watch, like no remorse, no thank you at all, just like.
Well, he just heard that it was put in two people's asses, maybe three. Because his his grandfather or whatever might have had.
I have this piece of paper that shows where the anus is.
You do.
It's framed. You didn't have to frame it. See BPT episode 18 for info.
Boundless Pod Trap episode 18.
So if there is a Satan character in this, being Marcellus Wallace, my idea of the Jesus character would be Lance. Because he has the sandals, he has the robe, he has the long hair, and so he's the drug dealer. He's giving people. He starts off, one of his introductions is giving the people the three drugs there. So he has the Panda, which was from Mexico. He has the Bava, and then he also has Choco from Germany, the Hartz Mountains. Panda from Mexico. Panda is pretty much black or white. It's the good and the bad. Bava actually means God in Sri Lanka. And Choco from Germany, those are pretty much the Hartz Mountains are the fairy tale places. So, yeah, so Lance is pretty much the Jesus figure. As mentioned before, he's got the divine, he's got the dark and the light, and he has the fairy tales. So later he also helps bring someone back to life. Yeah.
I don't feel like anything I say has any
relevance at this point.
Like I just feel like I watched the movie and I looked at it, like the technical like side of it.
Quentin Tarantino
like,
was thinking this at this point.
And then like I mean it makes sense again.
Well, like that can make sense to an extent, meaning like his wife would be like that Mary Magdalene character, like sacrificing her body, like with her piercings, like doing self-harm to her body with her piercings and being proud of it because she has that whole like minute or two of dialogue talking about how with that other random girl, like the disciple, about her don't use the gun, like all my 18 piercings, and she's going through the number of piercings. I've done it all with the needle.
Right.
And Vince is like, why would you get your tongue pierced? It's a sex thing. Like,
that's a very Magdalena. Yeah. I didn't put that one together, but yeah, that actually kind of
right. And then the
the
other girl who's there is obviously just a disciple. Like, she has no point other than just to be there and listen to the word. So if that's the point where he is the Jesus figure, the wife would be the Mary Magdalene character, and so you could route it that way. Makes sense in that point.
Right. So early in, when Vincent Vega pretty much comes back from Amsterdam, he said that he spent 3 years there, and 3 years also in biblical references is like the one who enters the promised land and regards their fruits until the third year. So this is that third year, and he can feast in abundance, and that's what he is doing. He's definitely indulging in all his works, I guess, or his fun. And even though he had that warning of not get too close to Mrs. Wallace, he's doing so. He's leaving things not secure. So he gives her his coat, which has the heroin in it that she snorts right before they were doing the twist. They definitely got themselves in a twist.
Yeah, I won the twist off, and then they were dancing romantically in the house. He's giving himself the pep talk in the bathroom. He's like, you're going to go out there, you're going to say, I had a lovely night. You're going to drive home, going to jerk off and go to bed.
If you guys were in his shoes in real life and you were being paid by this devilish guy, like you described Marcellus Wallace, and he asked you to look over his wife, and that situation came up to where, you know, you could feel a little something between you guys, and then you come out and she's OD'd and blood running out of her nose and stuff like that. What would you do?
Probably the same thing. If I was getting drugs from a guy, I would
right.
definitely want somebody who can probably remedy that. And what better person than Jesus, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a scenario like that and not wanting Marcellus Wallace to know. I mean, I'm sure they have a doctor on retainer somewhere. So it could have been just as easy as like, hey, fix this. And it would have been a lot cleaner and a lot easier. But not wanting him to know, which probably saves your ass as well.
I mean, that's just the thing with Tarantino's style and writing. Like, he puts you, the viewer, in the shoes of some of the characters, and it's uncomfortable. Like,
right.
I mean, the whole thing of him, I think it's hilarious, that shot, again, when the drug dealer's like, don't come to my fucking house. And then he opens the front door, and you just see the car go across his lawn.
That was another one of those long, uncomfortable takes too, where it just like the camera was on the dot, and it's just that long, uncomfortable, like waiting for the stab to happen, but it's just like every second that ticks by is another like now, or how about now, or now. Like, when is this going to
countdown
happen?
type of thing. And the cool thing with that scene too is they filmed that in reverse, the stabbing part of it.
Oh, so
because it was actually
pulling up.
Yeah. Oh. Because the intense of going to her chest type of thing, I thought
that was pretty smooth. That looked good.
Yeah,
I don't remember how many cuts it had. You might be able to, but like the dialogue, the picking back and forth and stuff, like, where's the black book and why don't you keep it in the whatever, like.
Right.
Let me bring it back a bit. So you got Lance. Lance is another name for Spear, and he's pretty much like the messenger, kind of like the Jesus figure. So he was given Vincent the three options to choose, either positive, neutral, or negative. And Choco is the chocolate, which is what he chose. It's the dark. And Lance said that one of them would cost the more, which is the one that he picked. So he ended up choosing the dark fantasies. So like in desperate situations, Vega chose Lance, this Jesus guy, kind of relative to real life. But so Lance was freaking out trying to find his book, which has the instructions for Mia's life. But in the end, they pretty much took it on faith. So as you saw, he was like, "Where's my black book? Where's my black book?" And that whole scene of brilliant fucktardery. All of that is so believable.
So organic,
the severity of Travolta's character, the rushing around, like you're pretty much you're using the camera as an obstacle to showcase your severity.
Right. And that's where we were talking about the script earlier, like how can you act that? Like where there's a lot of that like dialogue where it's like, how do you get a script where it's like that's the dialogue in it? Like, that's how I have to think. It's like, here's point A, here's point B, put it together. Right.
But like, kind
it's
of
like, it's gold.
Germany was mentioning like the filler of character, what do you call it? Building, I guess, that Tarantino had. I mean, like, that definitely helps so you can know the character, know what they're going to do in that part. I'm like, most times as the actor, it's pretty much left up to you to, know the lines and know, like, parameters around where you may or may not go type of thing. So I mean, like you will have questions, but like it seems like everything was just so fleshed out.
Right.
So.
And that's one thing I didn't get to find too many things of it, but like I like watching, and for this I'm gonna try to find more behind the scenes making of stuff. Like 1994, it was still, they had people doing like behind the scenes making of things, but everything I find about Pulp Fiction is really quick things, and it doesn't leave the camera set for too long to like see like Tarantino be like action and showing them filming something, then yelling cut and whatnot. I would like to know with Tarantino, like, I'm assuming he's one of those directors where he lets the actors just go from the start of the scene to the end of the scene when the camera's there, and just even if they mess up, he lets them keep going, because odds are he might actually use some of the stuff that they mess up. Like, I think he's one of those ones where he's not going to be nitpicking, like, I didn't like that cut, let's start over again. I think he'll let it go through. But I would like to know, like, how long it takes him to film a scene. Like, he seems like he's a perfectionist, that he's not going to settle for anything less. And so it's like, I wonder, I know when you're at that stage and you have, like, a production company giving you money, time is money. Like, you can't take your time with things, but
right.
I wonder if he's one of those people where it's like, if it takes all day to get this one shot, damn it, we're going to be here all day to do it.
All right.
Yeah. That OD scene is extremely like fast paced, like fumbling.
I think that's
urgent,
probably
whatever.
I bet you that was the hardest scene to film.
I think so too, and that's one of the ones that he kind of pinpointed on because of mainly because he wanted to shoot that. He needed that one to be perfect. The right after that, he doesn't do many close-ups unless it's strongly intended. And right after the OD scene, when Vincent Vega walks her back to her crib, her house, her cradle. It's cradle because it rocks. Yeah.
Stop it. I was on board with you this whole episode until you said that.
No, she said something along the lines of, because he was trying to get, kosher before he left. They're like, are we cool here? Like,
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
How bad am I in trouble?
But he left. She's like, I can keep a secret if you can, type of thing. And she tells Vincent that, and Vincent asks to shake on it. But before, she said the only thing Antoine Rocamora touched was her hand when he shook her hand at the wedding. So I don't know, or it's not strongly told, I guess, if was she keeping a secret with Rocamora, with Antoine, the Samoan dude, before he was thrown out the window into the glass garden little thing, or if shit didn't happen the way it did, if Butch didn't take out Vincent Vega, would Marcellus be throwing him off a roof?
Well, there's the next interaction that Vincent has with Mia is when Vincent's making his beeline from the boxing match down to where Marcellus Wallace is at the arena, and he opens the door, and she's right there by the door, and he does a quick, "You okay?"
Right.
And she's like, she says something along the lines
I forgot to thank you for dinner.
Yeah. Just like that quick, like. yep, drop it kind of a thing.
For being husband and wife, they didn't say one word to each other.
I think they do on the balcony when she's like got the swimmer's cap on.
Yeah.
That's not her.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
is.
her.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That did not look like her.
Right? With that swimmer's cap on.
Sunglasses and the I just
Jeez.
fucking punched my mouth.
Ate the mic.
I'm gonna ask you this, Justin, because you're the one that's looking for meanings and stuff when we do these reviews. In your opinion, what do you think the most important scene is in Pulp Fiction?
The most important, as far as setting up the story or telling the story, I would have to say the OD. No, not just. I can't pick just one. I think the last closing one with Samuel L. Jackson at the diner before Vincent Vega comes back from the bathroom. I think that is a very important thing because it, like I said early on, like I think this movie is about redemption, and most of all the characters have like their own redemption before their demise or so, or seeing off. So either the OD scene or the closing diner scene.
Yeah.
Not the OD scene, the syringe scene or the closing diner scene.
What do you think? We don't really see, but where do you think Jules is at today? Where do you think he went on? We know Vincent's fate, unfortunately. What do you think, Jules?
Towards the end, he kind of made mention of acting like, Kwai Chang Kang from Kung Fu. And you can, I think he just said Kane. But you can also refer that back to biblical Cain, where he said he wanted to pretty much just be a drifter and walk the earth. And he actually shows up in Kill Bill as kind of like the pianist drifter. So I think that might have been the places that God set him. But I think that using that biblical reference where God marked Cain, he darkened his skin or marked him, and being a black man, I guess. I mean, you can kind of use that reference. But yeah, I think he would have cleaned up his act type of thing.
Think he married, kids?
I don't know about kids. I think he would have probably stayed on like a godful path, whatever. And where he ended up in Kill Bill was in a church, playing the piano.
Also, if you notice with Jules Winfield, his drug of choice, which we see was caffeine, at the diner he only drank coffee, so he was awakened.
Lonnie, I'm going to throw this question at you.
Okay.
Since you gave the lowest rating of this, what about this movie would you have changed to make it better? Not necessarily better, to make it different or...
and the reason the movie got such a low score to me was, I think, those continuity issues. I think you fix those issues, you fix the score for me.
So you think the story is perfect?
I think the story is perfect, yeah. I think the movie is fantastic. I think, like I said, I'd probably have to say third now, since I rewatched it again, and I remember how much I absolutely love Reservoir Dogs. My third favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, but you fix those issues that I complain about, and like I said, they're super nitpicky issues, but I have to watch it with the eye that I'm looking at it to try to find those nitpicky issues and tear them apart. You fix those 3 or 4 small issues, and it's back up to a 9. It's almost at Justin's 10 level, because some of those dialogue parts, especially at the end, where Samuel L. Jackson is doing the Bible verse to Tim Roth and finally putting it together, that's some of the most powerful dialogue, not only in Quentin Tarantino movies, but in cinema.
Yeah.
Just the way he's delivering it.
He said that, was it 3 times in the film? And on the 3rd time, it chants new meaning.
Yeah, and that's what he's explaining. He's like, I used to think it meant this, or it was this and that. But, yeah.
Having that divine intervention, pretty much, that's another thing I kind of want to revert back to biblical Cain. When he was marked by God, God pretty much made him invulnerable to his enemies. And when he was shot at and looked as if nothing, they didn't receive any bullets or whatever, that no harm was done to them. That kind of parallels with that.
So if you're going biblical,
I think most of this was relatively biblical. But
which character would be Judas?
Probably Vincent.
Vincent, yeah, he is doing the most. I wouldn't say Judas as in betraying Jesus. He's more like Judas as in betraying being the betrayer. So
Probably betraying man most, like
Yeah.
with getting him into situations with like the
He-
Marvin.
yeah, he eats the pork. As much as he might be a Judas, I would also say he's kind of an Abel, as Jules is Cain. The brothers Cain and Abel. Cain loves his animals, and Abel loves his plants. And oh, does he love his plants?
He's
What do you call him?
he's taking out Mrs. Wallace,
Yeah,
and like
he's not
the
trying to.
bartender's mocking him, and
Without any intention of his own, he is pretty much, he's indulging. He's doing the stuff he probably shouldn't be doing. And if you notice that only bad shit happens when he goes to the bathroom.
Yeah, I was going to mention how many times did
It's like, 'cause
was he on
heroin-
the toilet in that movie?
Heroin is one of those drugs that backs you up, and that's his drug of choice. That's his vice. That's pretty much his downfall.
Right.
His indulgence is pretty much
he's
that.
the only drug addict in the movie.
Yeah, not only. I would say
He's the
Mia
only
Wallace.
he's the only he's the only one with an obvious drug problem.
Yeah.
And we only know that he's, because you said backs you up. We only know that he actually went
Finished.
once because flushing the toilet is what fucking ended his life.
Yeah. It's like when he's at the restaurant diner, he goes to the bathroom, comes out, and seeing the place is getting robbed. When he's in Butch's apartment, he goes to the bathroom, comes back, and
Boom.
Butch got his fun gun. I shouldn't say it like that. And what
But
was
he
the other
has his
place?
love gun out.
So one of the final thing that we would do here is the question that I asked Lonnie.
There was a few more things I kind of wanted to talk on.
We got 10 minutes, bub.
Well, so Fabian
Bub.
is pretty much the love interest of Butch, and Fabian pretty much means bean grower. She has all like these little cute food names like lemon pie, jelly bean, and that's pretty much Butch's indulgence is her.
She doesn't listen very well.
And she wants to be fat.
Not so much, yeah. She wants a pot belly.
She wants a pot.
And he is pretty much fed by her, literally, orally. Like he yeah.
Will you kiss
So
it?
she is pretty much the
You
metaphor
first.
of growth, I would say, and the purity and cleanliness, because she has that habit of brushing her teeth and stuff.
That motion
My
just made
name
was
is-
not brushing teeth.
My name is Babby.
But yeah, another thing I kind of wanted to revert back to is the Esmeralda Villalobos. The way that she got this film was because of a 30-minute short film called Curdled, I believe it was. Yeah, Curdled, where she was assuming this, or I think she was pretty much reprising her role in this as the taxi driver. And there she was pretty much a fix-it, Mrs. Fix-It. Like she had this fascination of like death scenes. So she would be called to come and clean up this place. And she's like, oh my God, like whatever. Quentin Tarantino did in 96 fund the feature-length movie, and she reprised her role there. You would see at the end where Winston Wolfe comes in, and his license plate says 3AM581, and you can use those, like the 3 as an E, the 5 as an S, and the 8 as like 2 O's. And it's kind of like an anagram of EABMSOOL, which could also be Esma Lobo. So that's where you get the Lobo as in wolf. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, no, Mr. Wolf, her, and Christopher Walken, I think were amazing side characters that were highly necessary. But
I think everybody was necessary in
Yeah,
this
it was
movie.
a great movie.
One thing I will say before we start wrapping it up here is, you guys play Grand Theft Auto much?
Never played it.
yeah, I loved it.
Do
back in the
you
day.
not think that camera angle of Butch sneaking up to his apartment to get the watch looked like
It did.
the character
Like,
in Grand Theft Auto
Yeah.
when you're playing the character and how he moves and stuff? Looks dead on, but this is way before Grand Theft Auto. So I wonder if Grand Theft Auto
took the idea.
took that idea
Could have.
because it looked like a video game. But no, so the last segment that we would normally do here.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt.
Son
you.
of a fuck, guys. We have 7
than
minutes.
15 minutes.
Mine's easy. I know we're talking about Pulp Fiction, but I'm gonna extend this to all Quentin Tarantino movies real quick. So, what is your guys' favorite line from a Quentin Tarantino movie of all time? Like favorite Quentin Tarantino line
Motherfucker. Fuck was used 265 times in this movie.
in this movie? Mine is from the movie Four Rooms, and I don't know why, but every time I hear this line, I almost piss myself laughing. It's So it's from 4 rooms. The 2 little kids are destroying the room. They find the dead hooker in the room. It's covered in heroin needles. The one little kid has stabbed Tim Roth in the leg. The curtains are burning. Antonio Banderas has his drunk wife over his arm. He kicks the door open, and he looks and sees all the kids, and everything's burning. And his line is he looks at them all as everything's in shanters, and he goes, "Did they misbehave?" And just something about that fucking line tickles me pink every time.
Well, real quick, we actually have an audio clip of one of my favorite lines. It's actually Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction when he's talking about the coffee.
I know the coffee's good. I fucking buy the coffee.
It's not relevant, but it's just play it.
Shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us. What flavor is this?
Knock it off, Julie.
What?
I don't need you to tell me how fucking good my coffee is, okay? I'm the one who buys it. I know how good it is. When Bonnie goes shopping, she buys shit. I buy the gourmet expensive stuff because when I drink it, I want to taste it. But you know what's on my mind right now? It ain't the coffee in my kitchen. It's the dead in my garage.
Like, if you
he said the dead car in his garage.
if you want to know Quentin Tarantino and you took this way out of context, that sounds like the gayest dude I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
One thing I really liked about the symbology and stuff like this in this movie is
You can say symbolism. Like, it is a word.
symbolism, the symbology. So at the very end,
Symbolize.
Butch steals Zed's chopper.
Yep.
It says grace on it. So he is slipping by on the seat of grace before he closes out.
Zed's dead.
Zed's dead.
Zed's dead.
Did you guys see the 1970s throwbacks when he was doing his weapon of choice type of thing?
The hammer. The
You guys-
baseball
the
bat.
baseball bat from
The
Walking
chainsaw.
Tall, Chainsaw Massacre. He grabs the sword from the Yakuza, which I think that Yakuza sword was supposed to be one of the ones that was supposed to be pawned by Bud back in Kill Bill, but the actual sword was in Bud's suitcase, so I'm assuming he might have pawned a sword at one point. Yeah.
This fucking
I
guy.
don't know.
What would you change? Or go ahead.
Well,
Big fucking brain on Brad.
We're running out of time. I was been trying to say for the last 10 minutes is what our last segment's going to be on this is where we're going to go around the table and we would tell what we would change about the movie, if anything, to make it better, whether that be a character not being there or adding a character or whatever we would do. This is probably a bad one to pick because I don't think that there is anything I would change with this one. As we go on and we watch other people's picks and stuff like that, that'll change. But
The only thing I would change is if he was able to use the music he wanted to use.
well, and that was a topic that I was going to talk about was music, but it's very hard to talk about music when you can't really play it because of being flagged. But I will say he had some interesting choice music in this movie. A lot of variety, and I think they fit very well what he did use. But yeah, so like I said, we're going to be very strict with the time limit on this podcast. We're not going to go any less than an hour, no more than an hour and 20. I think once we wrap up here, there's some things we'll talk about. This is going to get better as time goes on. I think this was a good one. I've learned some interesting things.
Mm-hmm. Can I pick the next one?
Well, I'm just going to say that I have the next one picked out, and it's a Lonnie pick.
Is it?
It's a movie that, let me see here. Let me pull it up. I have it on IMDb so I can get the year and stuff like that. So I'm assuming the one you're talking about is from 2019, the Dead Don't Die.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to be doing the 2019 movie The Dead Don't Die starring Bill Murray and Adam Driver. That's going to be our next one that we discuss here on the BPT movie review. And then
It's not going to be as good as Pulp Fiction. Sorry, guys.
That'll make it fun.
Almost.
That'll make it fun. So
We have to make it better.
we do.
It's fantastic.
We do. So is that the one you were going to say?
I was going to either say that or Stand By Me.
Well, we'll do The Dead Don't Die. I think that'll be interesting because I have not seen that one. So I kind of want
so
to
great.
watch one that I haven't seen. So, and then after that, we'll go back to me, and then we'll go back to you, then you'll go back to me. And, sorry, Justin.
And then some Asian movie we'll have to sneak in.
Oh.
So No, I'm actually looking forward to
Yeah.
watching different. This will be a way to broaden the whole movie experience.
You said broad.
So yeah, that's gonna do it for episode 1 of BPT movie review. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully I'm guaranteeing you from things that Justin pointed out, you learned something new and different about Pulp Fiction. But yeah, join us. You'll hear us next Monday for our regular Boundless Pod Trap episode. And then after that, we wanted to scare you there. And then after that, every other week, we will do the BPT movie review. So yeah, for Lonnie, Justin, I am Jeremy. This is the BPT movie review. And take it away, Jim Carrey.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.